The twin moons of Virel 9 hung heavy above the execution square, their pale light glinting off steel chains in the cool eyes of the crowd. They had gathered to witness punishment, not justice. Bound to 4 hovering grave chariots was a young alien girl, her skin faintly iridescent, her hair white like frost. She was no older than 18 in human years, trembling as the wind whipped through the open square. Her name was Lyra, a member of the Elanari, an ancient, nearly extinct race known for their healing abilities. But to the Dominion soldiers surrounding her, she was nothing more than an enemy spy. A masked officer raised a hand. "By order of the Virel Council," he proclaimed, "this creature is condemned to quartering for crimes against the Dominion." The crowd murmured, hungry for spectacle. Lyra tried to speak, her voice shaking. "I healed your wounded. I saved your children. Please." "Silence," the officer barked. The chariot's engines flared, the magnetic tethers pulling taut. Her wrists and ankles strained, her body trembling in pain. The officer lowered his hand, and in that moment, before the engines roared to full power, a voice broke through the silence. "Stop!" The crowd turned. A man pushed through the soldiers, his coat stained with oil and dust. His name was Captain Rian Holt, a human engineer and veteran who'd once fought for the Dominion before vanishing from their ranks. He now walked right into the line of executioners, his face calm but his eyes burning. "She's innocent," he said. "You know it." The officer sneered. "And who are you to say so? Deserter?" "I'm the man who designed those chariots," Rian said evenly, "and I know they'll tear her apart in less than a second. You call that justice?" "Step aside, human," the officer snapped. "This is none of your concern." Rian looked at Lyra. Her luminous eyes were filled with terror and trust. He sighed. "Guess it is now." Then he pulled his plasma sidearm and shot the nearest tether generator. Sparks erupted. The magnetic field collapsed, and the crowd erupted in chaos. Middle, the escape. Blast of fire exploded across the square as Rian sprinted forward, cutting through the remaining tethers with precision shots. The chariot spun out of control, crashing into the marble walls. Lyra collapsed to the ground, gasping, her limbs free but bleeding. Rian knelt beside her. "Can you stand?" She nodded weakly. "You'll die for this." "Probably," he muttered, hoisting her onto his back. "Let's make it worth it." They dashed through the alleys of the city, alarms blaring across Virel 9. Dominion soldiers flooded the streets, their drones scanning every corner. Rian led her through maintenance tunnels beneath the old reactor grid, places only engineers would know. By the time they emerged, dawn was creeping over the horizon. The desert stretched before them, vast, unforgiving. Rian had a hoverbike stashed in the ruins beyond the walls. As they caught their breath, Lyra looked at him, bewildered. "Why?" she whispered. "Why would a human risk everything for me?" Rian exhaled, rubbing the dust from his brow. "Because I saw what they were doing, and I couldn't just stand there." She stared at him, her eyes shimmering faintly. "No one ever helps my kind." He gave a small smile. "Guess I'm not like most people." They reached the bike as Dominion ships began sweeping the desert skies. Rian gunned the engine, then whipping up behind them as they sped toward the distant mountains. For hours they rode in silence, until the sun was high and the air shimmered with heat. Finally, Lyra spoke softly. "You don't believe I'm a spy?" "Don't need to," Rian said. "I saw your hands, scarred, healer's marks. Spies don't save lives. They take them." Her expression softened. "You understand more than you know." The refuge. By nightfall, they reached an ancient ruin, once a temple of the Elanari, now half buried beneath the dunes. Inside, faint blue light glowed from the walls, remnants of forgotten technology. "This place," Lyra whispered, "was where my mother healed the dying during the First Dominion War." Rian helped her sit, then began tending to her wounds with what supplies he had. You'll need rest. They'll come looking. She reached out, stopping his hand. Her touch was warm, her eyes full of something ancient. You risked your life for a stranger. My people say that when such a bond is formed, destiny binds their fates. Rian chuckled softly. I'm not much for destiny, just trying to do the right thing. But as he looked into her glowing eyes, he felt something shift inside him, something he hadn't felt since before the war. Hope. Over the next few days, he repaired an old beacon transmitter hidden in the ruins. His plan was simple. Signal a passing merchant ship, get her off-world. But the more time he spent with Lyra, the less he wanted to see her leave. She was gentle, curious, and wise beyond her years. When she laughed, the crystals embedded in the temple walls shimmered brighter. And when she slept, the desert winds outside grew calm, as if the world itself respected her peace. One evening, as Rian adjusted the transmitter circuits, Lyra approached quietly. You saved me from death, she said softly. My people believe such an act cannot go unrewarded. He smiled. You don't owe me anything. She tilted her head. Perhaps not, but the universe disagrees. Before he could reply, the temple trembled. Then the sound of engines filled the air. The Dominion had found them. Climax, fire and light. Dozens of soldiers surrounded the ruins, their spotlights cutting through the dark. Rian grabbed his blaster and looked at Lyra. When I tell you to run, run to the caves. Don't look back. But Lyra shook her head. No more running. She stepped forward, her hands glowing with radiant energy. I will not be hunted anymore. The soldiers fired, but before the bolts could reach her, the air shimmered. A brilliant field of light erupted, deflecting every shot. The temple crystals pulsed in response, feeding her power. Rian watched in awe as Lyra raised her arms. The sands outside began to swell, forming a storm that swallowed the soldiers whole. Their ships cracked, their engines failing under the force of an unseen storm. It was not rage that fueled her, it was sorrow. When the battle ended, the desert lay still. The Dominion ships were gone, their lights extinguished. Lyra collapsed to her knees, breathing hard, her glow fading. Rian rushed to her side, catching her before she fell. Hey, stay with me. She smiled weakly. You saved me once, Rian hoped. Now I've returned the favor. He held her close. You didn't have to. Her voice trembled. That was my reward to you. Ending the reward. Days later, the sky above the desert shimmered as a silver ship descended, the same signal Rian had sent before the attack. It wasn't Dominion, it was Elinari. Lyra's people had come. The elder who led them bowed deeply to Rian. You save our princess, he said. For that, you have earned what no outsider ever has, our eternal favor. Rian looked at Lyra, who now stood tall and strong again. Her glow returned. Guess this is goodbye, he said softly. She stepped closer, her voice gentle but firm. No, Rian, my people owe you a debt, but I owe you my heart. He blinked, startled. Lyra, She smiled. You gave me freedom when I had none. You saw me as more than a weapon or a monster. That is something even my own kind forget. Wherever I go, your name will be carried among the stars.